Well, hey, good morning. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, good morning.
So, and how are our people out there? Who's going to be with us today? I'm going to open up the chat so we can all say good morning. So, I just got back from Detroit. Now, I have to say, I don't think I've ever been in Detroit before. It was a conference with the HNP Happy Neighborhood Project, did a collaboration with, it's called LET, which is Leadership uh, Experience Tour, and I heard some amazing speakers. They coach and groom speakers, and they had television cameras and all kinds of things. It really was quite an experience. So it was fun to
Sounds
be.
fun.
Yeah, it was, and I just met some great people. You know, it is so nice to be back meeting in person. Now, Lisa, you and I, we've been back with our Fun Fearless Gals for pretty much a year. I mean, I think we started last
Yeah.
year about this time, February or March last year, getting back out. And so we already know how nice that is. But a lot of the people that I met, this was their first live event that they've been to, you know, since the whole pandemic started. So there was a lot of just, you know, hello, nice to see you, giving hugs and all that. So when I
That's
encourage
awesome.
y'all, yeah, if you haven't been to something live, go do it. You know, whether it's a networking lunch in your town. Many of you are probably already going back live in person to church, but there's things that you can go to. And I know it's that trade off of time management. Zoom, you can sit at your Zoom screen and probably talk to whatever, five, six, seven, eight people if you're so inclined. That gets a little much. I have done eight before, but eight is really a lot. That's not my preference. So, you know, I know you can sit your screen, get up, walk around every 5 minutes or something. When you go to live lunch, like you led our lunch last week while I was gone, Lisa, and it probably took like, you know, it takes like 3 hours. You got to drive there and then you got the lunch and drive back, but it is so worth it. So I want to really encourage all of you to get back and do something live. Maybe start out with once a month or twice a month. Right now, I'm going to three a month. It's just the way it's working out. Live lunches, in addition to going to church on Sundays. So it is nice to be out. Wouldn't you agree, Lisa?
Well, yeah, and even though online is wonderful and I've really appreciated the tool, uh when you're in person, you can give hugs, you can talk off in the corner of the room for a second about certain things. There's just more interaction with people that is um, connective energy wise. And I think it's that energy that helps us in terms of networking.
Absolutely. There is a total difference of the energy that's in a room when you're live. The whole camaraderie and everything takes a several steps up. It's amazing. Hi, Karen. Good morning. Nice to
Yes.
see you. So yeah, great to see you in Kansas City. Um, so Lisa, how was the lunch? Tell me a little bit about the lunch the other day. Y'all had great time.
The luncheon was awesome. We actually focused on the Wow the World 2023 conference a lot and talked about what the women either liked about the idea of it. And we talked about Carrie Pomerelli, our keynote speaker who's coming. And we got into some conversations about all the different dates because, you know, it spans 3 days and the value of it. And it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that is great. And you just said her name for the first time.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right here, live, not in person, but live. We are giving you the name. We actually have the contract in my inbox. I just have to do the final signature, and we are good to go. So I think we're okay to say. Do you want to tell just a little bit about her, and then within the next few days, you'll see it on the website, the on the Wow
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, Carrie, you can go to carriepalm.com and I'll type it into the chat here. But she is one of the top Christian female comedians in the United States, actually, probably the world. I don't know about how many other female comedians there are throughout the world, but she's also an excellent keynote speaker. And she is very energetic and fun. She's been on Dry Bar, she's been on Hallmark, and Netflix, and every named interview TV show you can name. She's very all over Hollywood. So uh, she's I just her uh, act is going to be worth having being in person, let alone the energy that she's going to expel there. So
Yeah, so this is very exciting to have her coming and being a part of it. She's going to be there for the VIPs. By the way, the VIPs will have some special time with her if you decide to come in the first place, and then bump yourself up to VIP. You're going to get that special time. Excuse me, in the presidential suite with her on Friday afternoon, and
yeah,
then we
we're
have
gonna
our
have a
big
Q&A.
yeah, and our big reception, our shine, reception on Friday night. So really want to encourage you to get your tickets. I know a lot of y'all are waiting to see, but you have until April 30th to save the $200. So I think we'll have this all up, locked and loaded and all of that by the 1st, right? Lisa, that's what we're aiming towards, or somewhere
Yep.
maybe by Monday, give us that extra part of the weekend. But in any case, want to make sure y'all have it on your calendar. And Kristen White Peacock, good morning. Where do you live? I don't think you've been on the show with us before, so welcome. You can just put in the chat. And y'all, something else that is brand new here on StreamYard, you can, and I don't know what it looked like if it asked you the question, but you can actually stream to your own Facebook page while you're on there. You can invite your people to join in as well. So that's kind of a cool thing. They didn't really give us much details, but it's a new thing. They said, tell your guests you can do it. Like, okay.
Wave your magic wand.
That's right. So, well, this morning we are talking about words matter. And I know we've covered this subject in the past, but we're in our 6th year. So a lot of the things we have done, but I feel like it's such an important thing. Our words make such a difference. So whether they're good or bad, or the words, let's talk first about the words of God. What does God say? Then we have the words that we say to other people. And then there's the words that we say to ourselves. Now, all 3 of those could be totally 3 different mornings of topics, but we're just going to kind of put them all in here together. So Lisa, right off, start us off and kind of talk to us about what the topic kind of means for you.
Well, sometimes, and maybe this is just me, but I'll be talking and saying things and not really thinking about the words that are coming out of my mouth. And all of a sudden I'm going, oh, they may not have understood what I said because of the way I said it. So because we can't see what's in each person's head, words become our only way to bridge communication. Well, not only way, but it's one of the major ways we bridge communication. And so I think it's good to start thinking about those type of words. Like sometimes because I'm analytical and I start looking at things, I can come off sounding negative when I'm actually a very positive person. But sometimes I'm just looking at things very linearly and kind of analyzing them scientifically. And so I'll start saying something and people are like, oh, that's depressing. And I'll think, oh, well, I'm sorry. I wasn't really thinking of it that way. So, there's just a lot of parameters about words. They come out and they have different meanings to different people. So.
Well, they really do. I think you're absolutely right. And I think sometimes the words are very important, but I think I heard a statistic this weekend that 80%, and again, this is another whole topic, and we really should get Lynn in on this one because she's quite an expert of the whole body language and what are you saying through your body at the same time you're saying the words. But I think he said that there's 80% of your communication is your body language. So, if you're standing there with your arms folded and a grouchy face and say, gosh, you're so nice, I like you. Do you think anybody's going to think they're not going to hear the good words if you're standing there being in a grouch,
Right.
And that goes back to either the last couple of weeks when we talked about, smiling at people, just a smile makes a difference. But if you smile when you're saying encouraging words, that helps even better, so then you're adding the extra layers. And I think it is important because different people respond differently. That's that whole different personality test that you can take. Kathy Weaver uses the bank system, which my brain hasn't memorized yet. The other one is DISC, the DISC. And then there's one on animals, and there's all these different types of personalities. And the reason there are these different methods is because people hear differently. Just like you were saying, Lisa, you're very analytical. You look at data, you don't forget it, you remember it, which astounds me. It's like I can read it, but it is not going to stay with me because it's just not that important. I mean, the bottom line is just not that important to me, so my brain doesn't remember it. But when we talk to other people, the different personalities respond differently. So our words are so important to make sure that they really understand, especially if you're trying to have a, maybe not so much a serious, but something you really want to communicate, something you really want to talk to someone about. Lisa, go ahead with something real quick. I'm going to go back and look at the picture that I put up on Facebook. I love that saying out of the Bible in Titus, and I'm not remembering right off the top of my head what that was, but I thought it was important.
Okay. And Kirsten White Peacock, she's answered you and said she's from Richmond, Texas. Welcome. And welcome to Tiffany and anybody else who I don't see yet. So why while you're getting your stuff, why in our audience, what do you think about words? Why are they important to you? Or why do you think they're important to be thinking about in this topic? And also that would be really good for us because there's so many different directions we could take this. For me, some of the things that I have is that the challenge with words. I mean, you would think I have a really good vocabulary. That's not the problem, but my brain thinks in pictures. So in fact, with my family, when we were cleaning things up at my mother's house and we were going through stuff, I would say something and all my siblings would look at me like, huh, what are you trying to say? And all of a sudden it would dawn on me, I'm saying something from a picture in my head. And so what's coming out of my mouth is only half the sentence. And I was like, well, just know what I'm picturing in my head and we'll be fine. The communication will be great, And so a lot of times I have trouble because I'm so pictorial and not verbal. And my husband's very verbal and not pictorial. So you can see how that might go.
So you get lots of experience is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, we get lots of communication experience.
So well, I found this, and it's Titus 3:2. It says, to speak evil of no one, to avoid quarreling, to be gentle, and to show perfect courtesy towards all people. And if we kind of just think of that, being careful with our words, and I think especially if we are upset, we don't even have to be angry, but if you're upset about something, sometimes words blob out, and that gives someone else can really misunderstand that and not really feel your heart so much as feeling that undercurrent of you being upset. So I think it's really important to be careful about that. And the whole it also kind of goes in with the golden rule, do unto others you would have them do unto you. It's like, if we treat others with that love and respect that we would like to be treated, then everybody's better because we're speaking our words and our actions, our words and our actions, and do you do what you say? Do you walk the walk, so to speak? That's important too. Sometimes we might be doing this thing and saying things, but are we really living that out?
Yeah. Well, and the one thing that's so powerful about words too is brought up, they can affect people, they can lift people up too. That's the wonderful thing. You were asking about the luncheon and all the people in our luncheon who were praying for each other. I know that those words that we express in our luncheons and prayers for each other lifts us up. I felt that strength as I was up at my mother's, and that was really nice to have that extra strength underneath, my wings at that point. So, because when you're going through difficult times, I think there's a lot of difficult times people are going through right now. So
Absolutely.
I think that we can, in words, we can express and lift people up, even if they're just a person in the grocery store and they look like they're down. I've come across people who are sitting on a bench, and I'll just kind of sit by them and say, "Hey, how's your day going?" And they'll look at you like, "Do I know you?" And it's like, well, we know each other in some way. So, but we'll, kick up a conversation like that. And when you leave, you can tell those words did something, because that person's not looking as sad as when you sat down.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it really is, our words just can be so encouraging. And I say, Kristen, thank you, Kristen, for engaging in the conversation here. I love this. But they really do. They can encourage someone else. It can make their day. We never know what somebody else is going through. Like you said, they're sitting on the bench, Lisa, and you don't know how was their morning. And, I'm going to give a little shout out to, and I may not say his last name right, but Edwin Edeberry, who started the Happy Neighborhood Project. And it's phenomenal to me. He talked his story. He gave his story this weekend. And he was just talking about how he looked around. He just felt like people just weren't happy. So he went around and he just asked the question, so simple. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And he just was shocked at all the thing. And once he started, he went on. So he asked 1,000 people, and the responses varied. Some were already pretty happy, and it's not like you have to go around and be. Sometimes we think happy is whatever, but happy can just be content and nice and in your life. But just again, that smile, or just actually seeing someone, using your words to just let them know that you see them. Because again, we don't know what's going on in their life, and they may just feel like nobody's listening, or that they don't have a part in the world, or they just feel left out. There's a lot of that, right now.
Yep, I think so. I think that there's and not to be a gloom and doom person, but some of the challenges in our world and the economy, this is a heavy, stressful environment that we're in, especially after what we just went through in 2020. And so there's, I think, a lot of need to shore up each other and to be friends, like to pull together in the words that we have, just words of encouragement and words of faith and hope. I think it's important to keep those words going. And what in our audience, what are things that you hope for the future? I mean, I hope that as we get through the gauntlet of what's going on, that there's going to be a better system on the other side of that, that's going to bless a lot of people. So even though we're going through maybe some challenges and some dark times, and it's going to look pretty interesting right now, my word that I would express to other people is that there's hope on the end of this. And it's always a little dark before the storm dissipates and we have rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, that is true. And I think if we really realize, and that's why we're talking about it today, how important it is, a timely word. And I looked that up here real quick. So Proverbs 15:23, and there's several different translations here. I'm going to just read them. New International says, a person finds joy in giving an apt reply. How good it is, a timely word. So sometimes just that great job, that little pat on the back. I'm so proud of you. That's what I would call a timely word. New Living says everyone enjoys a fitting reply. It's wonderful to say the right thing at the right time. I mean, and
Yeah.
isn't that really what we try to do? You know, somebody does something and they may not feel it's a big deal, but when you acknowledge it, it makes such a difference at being that encouraging, uplifting person. I think that's actually, I'm reading down through these. New King James, a man has joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season. How good it is, and has a little exclamation mark. So that's one of those verses to just keep in your mind. Proverbs 15:23, because it does tell us how it can make a difference to someone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it, even when if someone's going through something, the timely word can be, "I love you. I'm praying for
Yeah.
you." You know, just
Yeah.
letting them know they're not by themselves. It's not like we have to go try to, you know, be a fake, to be a fake happy or a fake something. Just being real and saying words from your heart that lift people up, that positive
Well,
word and not the negative.
yeah, and if you think about it, words can also be like a sword. So we have to be careful to, not cut or, use our words in ways that are clever, um, that hurt people. I don't like to admit this, but when I was young, because I had quite an intellect in terms of words, I could use that intellect to be very sarcastic and hurtful. It's something that I've worked out of, but there was, but as a youth, I thought that was kind of funny, and it wasn't funny at all. It was hurtful. And I realized that slight amount of sarcasm or that bite in what you were saying could be perceived very hurtfully. And so I was like, well, if I'm using my energy and I'm using my intellect and my words, why not use it to create joy and happiness and uplift instead of thinking myself clever in what I was doing or being a negative Nelly? I mean, there were times when in my life where negative Nelly could have probably been part of my life as well. So and I think some of that comes from family cultural environments that we live in, and not to blame anybody particularly, but I'm just saying that as we realize that, we have the power to change. And I love the fact that words have power in them that I can wield.
Absolutely. And it's great that you notice that in yourself, because we can't change something we're not even aware of. You know,
Yeah.
so I think
Well, and it
really,
wasn't like I was doing it necessarily maliciously. It just was
mhm.
as I became aware of how words could hurt people, even a jest. So that you assume is funny, like you're trying to be a funny person with your words. Um, I found that jokes a lot of times weren't funny to the other person. If they aren't funny to the other person, then they're not very helpful.
Right, right. And I think as well, I mean, what you're saying is really good points. We don't, we need to pay attention to the words that we're saying and how we're saying them to other people. And uh, oftentimes I've seen instances where if somebody is very insecure in themselves, they often will lash out and say mean things, hurtful things to someone else because they feel so um, insecure,
Yeah.
oftentimes, and kids do that. We've all heard that thing, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, that is a lie. Words
Yeah.
do hurt. And sometimes those words that are said, um, when kids are young, but even, as they get up in their teen years and adults, those words can really, really sting and cause behavior or choices that the person hears these things, and then they take them and they believe them, and they had, oftentimes it takes a while for them to find a way to get out of that once they've gone down that hole of believing those
Yeah.
negative thoughts. So if we
Well,
find ourselves doing that, we just need to realize it and then make that shift to not do it, just like you're saying.
yeah, and usually when we are, like you said, in low self-esteem, I've heard the saying with kids and not as much maybe as adults, but I think we do it too, and I'll just whisper that to the side, is that that there's nothing you can say to me that I haven't said meaner to myself. is a comment that I've heard from young kids. And so if that's true, if we're using words on ourselves in that manner, it's important to try to learn mechanisms to get out of that. And that's why I don't know, you can call it all kinds of things, but I love affirmations in the mirror. Just that's one simple, easy way to start to help yourself build with words. And you can encourage yourself. If nobody else in the world is going to encourage you, you can encourage yourself in the mirror. So
absolutely. And, as I said in the beginning, there's the words that God says, the words we say to God when we're praying, the words we say to other people, and then the words that we say to ourselves. And those can be very damaging. Oh my goodness. Our negative self-talk, Lisa, I talk about this a lot because I see it so often. I never heard that phrase that you just said, though. I don't recall hearing somebody say that. Whatever that was you said about saying the word.
Well, I worked a lot with teens and youth, and there is and some that were in the custody of the state. This was a long, long time ago, but there are kids get in very dark places, and when you start getting able to talk to them, you'll find that there's a lot of negative talk in them. So it's the defense mechanism, and the saying that I'm talking about is something where kids are just saying, you can't be meaner than I am to myself. And I've heard that many, many times from the youth.
Wow. And isn't that so sad? But I hear it. I haven't heard that in particular, but I know that women do that a lot to themselves. We beat up on ourselves more than anybody else does. We don't give ourselves credit for the gifts that we have, that God's given us. And I think sometimes it's mainly because we don't stop and think about the fact that who we are is who God created us to be. Now, we can always improve and get better about things, but I think it's a slap in God's face. I really do. He created us. He gave us gifts. And when we batter ourselves, I mean, I'm not talking about a little thing here and, a little words here and there, but when we just like, oh, I'm so stupid and I can't ever do anything right. And boy, I wish I had some talents to say, and that has just got to hurt his feelings. It's like he created us and he sees how beautiful we are as his creation. And when we do that to ourselves, it's like saying, God, you did a really bad job. I don't know, that's just my perspective. I just, because he loves us so much. It's like not that much different. I mean, his love is more powerful, but how we feel about our kids. Alicia used to, and it still does some, and she may be on here. She comes on sometimes, but she's given me full permission to be honest and open with you guys. But she used to really be so hard on herself, and it would just hurt my heart when you hear your child say those things, especially when they're so not that, when they're so the opposite of what they're saying to themselves. How that hurts my heart, how that must hurt our Father's heart when we do that. And if we would just stop and be grateful for who we are today, say those kind words to ourselves, like, I am a child of the Most High God. I am created uniquely. I've been set aside for a purpose. Right now, all those verses that I use all the time are just slipping out of my brain. They're not coming out right. But there's so many. And if any of y'all ever need, I have a whole list, several pages of scriptures that I've reserved, that I've done and put out before. All of that, so if you ever need just a little, like, what to say to yourself, what does the Bible say about you? What does God say about you?
Isn't your book, How to Step in Your God-Sized Dreams, has a lot of that it's a course basically on self-improvement of self-esteem in many ways, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, thank you. It definitely is. It is, the whole book is about just loving yourself and who God created you to be, and affirming who you are. Because when you compare yourself and say what God says about you, as a matter of fact, that's ultimately where the whole theme of the conference came from, is that if every woman could see herself through God's eyes, ladies, if you could see yourself through God's eyes, we could wow the world. We would literally change the world if every woman really got that. If you could say those kind of words to yourself.
Yeah, and if you just even focus on the first word in that, wow the world. I mean, wow is a powerful word all in itself, and it pumps energy into you.
It does. It does. Somebody asked me the other day, I was working on something, and they said, "Oh, well, that's not wow. What does that stand for?" And I said, "It just stands for wow, just itself." Because I think the same, it's like, wow, just seems like, wow, excitement and greatness and enthusiasm, all of those things, just those three little words, I think, do that. So,
Yeah.
So that is why we've got our wow the world. So, uh, as we hit the top of the hour here, just remember that, ladies, as you're talking to others, and that encouraging word that can make such a difference. And, I think be especially careful in our families, because that's where we get the most frustration, I would say. Say we don't always agree with everything our kids do. But it's just challenging, and so sometimes those words can come out that we don't want to say. Sometimes, we say things just in a fit, but don't be afraid to apologize. It's like there have been multiple times I've had to go to Alicia and to Justin and just say, really, really sorry that, that came out. I just got angry, and they have to realize that we have to learn that. I mean, we as the parents, we have those moments just like they do, and that we can say, we can apologize. That came out totally wrong. And there have been times I've actually had to go and say, I know I hurt your feelings, but I don't understand what I said. And because sometimes I do, because again, what I think and how I process,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
how I see something may be totally different than somebody else does. So, really being careful of our words. And I think we get you can feel that little tension or something when we've hurt somebody's feelings. And why not just ask them and say, I think I just hurt your feelings and I so didn't mean to. Can you tell me why? What did I say? Or maybe it was how we said it, who knows? So,
Yeah.
but being aware, I think the bottom line is really being aware.
Yeah. So
here we are. So, ladies, all of you out there, and Sandy, good morning. Nice to see you. Kristen, thank you for being a part. We're really, really glad to have you. And Kathy, good morning. Oh, Kathy says Carrie is all over the internet. Yay! That's right. Absolutely.
yes.
So, Kathy, what is the YouTube that you clicked on there? Is that Carrie? Is that the link that you put on? And Tiffany, good morning. I want to make sure I say good morning to everybody. And Karen, I just love it when you guys take your time to come and be with us every Tuesday morning. I just so appreciate it because your time is so valuable. Oh, okay. Thanks, Kathy. That way everybody can get a little peek on her. So she will be coming. We have a couple of others that are waiting in the wings that we're going to be adding to the program. So really encourage y'all to go check things out, and particularly by next week, check it all out and get your tickets so you can get the savings, as well as realize all the amazing things that we are bringing to you in August. So, any last words, Lisa?
Well, I just wanted to say that affirmations can be very powerful. I just wanted to give one about my granddaughter had to give a speech. She's terribly like she doesn't like being out in public. She's very closet kind of driven kid. She likes being an introvert. And she was so nervous she was crying and having problems about giving this big speech in front of all her classmates and everything. And so I said, just pin the picture of like a drawing. I had her draw out the audience and she put it up on the mirror. And I sat there on the phone with her and I said, now look in the mirror and I want you to clap your hands and say, yay, she did a great job. She's an awesome speaker. And she was like laughing and crying at the same time because it was making her feel good about what was going on. And so I just sat there on the phone with her and we did affirmations, I don't know, for about 15 minutes or so while she was in the mirror. And she did a great job on the speech. So it's like going through those exercises and looking in the mirror, using words for yourself and encouraging yourself. It works. So I challenge everybody. Go in the mirror and say, yay, I'm wonderful. And do that, multiple times, maybe for about 10, 15 minutes, and I'll bet you have a better day. So
Absolutely. Hey, how about giving yourself a smile and saying, good morning? You are going to have a wonderful day today or something. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it does make a difference to really to affirm those things and declare those positive things about yourself. Makes a big difference. So as we close, I'm going to remind all of you that life is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. Choose to say good words. Choose to look in the mirror and say good, positive things. Say the truth. The truth is in the scriptures. So I'm just saying, if you can't believe it yourself, believe what God says. So choose to say good things to yourself and good things to others as you go through this week. Love you guys. Thanks for being here, and we will see you next week. Bye now. Have a great week.